On this week's edition of Connecticut Naturalist, it's time to explore a world you've never seen before. We go underwater as the yellow-spotted salamanders make their annual migration to vernal pools to breed. Jefferson salamanders lay their eggs on underwater branches. The red-spotted newts are eager to make a meal out of all this fresh protein. Caddisfly larvae are active in the night. Leeches wrap themselves around the egg masses. A giant water beetle leaves behind the water, an event seldom seen by even the most astute naturalists. A family of Argentinian scientists accompanies us on our expedition. Water boatmen, fish fly larvae, and a variety of other underwater creatures are observed. Wood frogs use the same vernal pool inhabited by the salamanders the night before. And finally, we come face to face with a gigantic snapping turtle. All this and more on this week's edition of Connecticut Naturalist. And now, here's your host. Hello, friends. I'm Will Michael, and you're watching Connecticut Naturalist. At this time of year, a variety of amphibians are exploding into our Connecticut forests. For the first time, I was able to document the Jefferson and yellow-spotted salamander emergence with my underwater camera. As I was filming the salamanders, I encountered a wide variety of other animals as well. This week, we'll take a look at a world never before seen by most people. Each spring, when the first warm rains fall over Connecticut, tens of thousands of yellow-spotted salamanders migrate to vernal pools to breed and lay eggs. Few residents have the privilege to see this massive exodus, and now we examine this already seldom occurrence from a point of view rarely seen by anyone. For the first time, we are looking into the underwater world of these remarkable creatures. Using an underwater housing for the video camera, we can observe yellow-spotted salamanders as well as a variety of other amphibians and invertebrates like never before. The specimens you're seeing now are yellow-spotted salamander males. Tonight is the first night of their migration, and the males arrive in the pools prior to the females. Additionally, males outnumber females by a 10-to-1 ratio. They're depositing their genetic material in a small globule referred to as a spermatophore. Large numbers of males crowd the same area, competing for the best location to deposit their genetic packet. You may be wondering, why, with a whole pond or vernal pool at their disposal, do all the males congregate in one spot? The answer is that particular locations are more suitable to deposit the spermatophores than others. Males seek out relatively shallow areas with a certain degree of underwater twigs, leaves, branches, or debris. When the females finally do arrive, each male will try to attract one to his particular spermatophore clump. He does this by performing a type of underwater dance over his deposit. As for now, the females have not yet arrived in large numbers. The yellow-spotted salamander is a member of the mole salamander family. All year, they live in underground labyrinths beneath the soil and glacial rock. They may be 2 feet under the earth and have been known to use mole or rodent tunnels for navigation. They remain underground for approximately 51 weeks out of the year. The only time they emerge is during the first warm rains of early spring. This event is seldom seen by anyone. There's only a brief 1-week period to witness these amphibians above the Earth's surface, let alone underwater. The massive exodus of thousands of salamanders only occurs on one night out of the whole year. For about a week afterwards, some linger in the water and females lay their eggs. The next night, I returned to the pond. I'm accompanied by a family of scientists from Argentina. They're comparing the breeding patterns of our salamanders with those found in South America. I was privileged to have these international scholars join me on my expedition.
Uy, mira, ahí hay algo. I want to see the yellow one.
Isn't the face? I love
Me
the
gusta
face.
agarrar la vela, ¿no?
¡Ay, qué rica! Es que pobrecita, pero para.
A verla.
Tócala, es exquisita.
Ah, no la.
Agua.
Sharing the pool with the yellow spotteds are the Jefferson salamanders and red-spotted newts. The Jefferson is another member of the mole salamander family. They arrive in smaller numbers and are currently under close observation by herpetologists, amphibian scientists. The Jefferson is interbreeding with the blue-spotted salamander, creating a hybrid species with several genetic variations. The one thing that all the hybrids have in common is that they are all sterile and cannot reproduce. It's similar to what happens when a horse is crossbred with a donkey. The result is a sterile mule. Scientists are interested in studying what the fate of the Jefferson and the hybrid species will be. The Jefferson could breed itself into extinction if it keeps breeding with the wrong salamander and producing sterile offspring. On the other hand, one of the hybrids could become fertile, able to breed on its own. This would mark the beginning of a new species of salamander. It's like watching evolution in our present-day environment right before our eyes. One may wonder how they can breed with another species without recognizing that it's different. This brings us to the process of how female eggs are fertilized. The male and female Jeffersons, as well as the yellow spotteds, never come into direct contact. As discussed earlier, males make deposits of spermatophore on the floor of the pool or pond. The females swim over these deposits and capture them inside their cloacal opening. Then her eggs are fertilized and ready to be laid. The females wrap themselves around underwater branches and attach their eggs. Near the shore of this pond, thousands of eggs cover the branches. It looks like some kind of alien environment. After the eggs are laid, a pandemonium of predation occurs. The red-spotted newts and several other insects and invertebrates feast on the high-protein eggs. The red-spotted newts wait patiently for the female Jefferson to finish laying her eggs. The jelly-like coating surrounding the eggs swells as it absorbs water, offering a protective coating against predators. At first, the coating is compressed, and the eggs are even more vulnerable. A caddisfly larva tries to reach the yolk inside the coating. The jelly proves to be a good defense, making each predator devote much time to penetrate inside. Time is all the developing embryos need. In approximately 2 weeks, they'll hatch. Still, the outside world is perilous, but at least they'll be motile and able to swim away from predators. A leech attempts to reach the developing embryo. With so much predation, it's a wonder that any salamanders survive at all. This caddisfly larva finally penetrates the jelly coating and devours the embryo inside. Notice how the larva's head is inside the circular hole that contained the embryo. I'm standing in about 3 to 4 feet of water filming all this activity. I'm operating the camera and some crew members are helping with the lighting. We're using extremely bright flashlights called Q-beams to blast light through the water. Also, a floating lamp allows me to shine light directly above our specimens. The footage that you're now seeing was filmed in Bethel, Connecticut, but the exact location is confidential, somewhere on the Terre Haute property. As we're filming, we discover an extremely rare occurrence. A giant water beetle has crawled out of the water onto the dam where we're standing. It's about 2.5 inches in length. The giant water beetle lives underground and is a threatening predator to small frogs, newts, salamanders, and invertebrates. It has a pair of large, hooked appendages that it uses to grapple its prey. This beetle has the ability to fly, though it is extremely clumsy in the air. Never have I seen one above the surface of the water. Tonight must be their breeding night as well. Notice the extreme camouflage of the beetle. It blends in perfectly with the leaves. A fish fly larva has accidentally surfaced to the top of the water. This larva is a poor swimmer and crawls on the bottom of the pond. It's in an uncomfortable position floating in the water, totally defenseless. This leech continues to work towards penetrating the protective jelly coating of the salamander eggs. There's so much life underwater, it's unbelievable. All of the tiny dots that are on the screen are living zooplankton. If you watch closely, you'll see the red-spotted newts eat some of the macroscopic invertebrates. The beetles that are darting across the camera lens are water boatmen. They have a pair of appendages that whip back and forth, propelling them through the water. This is their breeding time as well. They are attracted to the light. Light stimulates insects to breed. On the other hand, the light intimidates the Jefferson and yellow spotteds. As soon as the light hits them, they swim for cover under the leaves, making it even more difficult to get a good shot. The red-spotted newts are breeding. In their case, the male wraps around the female and stimulates her to release her eggs by secreting a chemical into her back. As the yellow-spotted salamanders swim up for air, they look like some kind of ethereal animal. The rhythmic movement is captivating, and it looks as if they're swimming in outer space, with the lights illuminating a somewhat surreal setting. We've documented a lot of yellow-spotted activity tonight. Now we'll pack up and head out. We'll return tomorrow to see what new activity is occurring. Alejandro Salamandro conoce Alejandra Salamandra.
Alejandro Salamandra conoce a Alejandra Salamandra.
Ajá. A ver, Maca.
Alejandro Salamandra.
Sí.
Conoce a Alejandro Salamandra.
The next day, we returned to another vernal pool that was visited by the salamanders the night before. Some spermatophore remains on the leaves below. Now in the daytime, another amphibian is using the pool. The wood frog is doing the same thing as the salamanders last night. Males are clucking loudly to attract females. The wood frogs are one of the first frogs to breed in the spring. only preceded by the spring peeper. Again, for the first time, we can examine these frogs with an underwater eye. From above the surface of the water, looking down, this vernal pool appears murky, but when we're underwater, we see that it's actually clear. Only the male frogs vocalize, and they're all competing to attract a female. Filming these frogs is difficult. The floor of the pool is soft and muddy. I keep sinking in the mud and stirring up debris. The frogs are fast and swim quickly away. The shots that you are now seeing were edited down out of hours and hours of film. The wood frogs lay eggs in huge megamasses. Several females lay eggs on the same branch. The egg mass grows and grows, sometimes as large as a basketball or larger. This shot illustrates perfectly what the eggs look like before the jelly-like coating swells with water. There are thousands of eggs on this one branch alone. The female's body is bloated with eggs. Her torso is bulging out on the sides. The male grabs onto her and squeezes her body, causing her to release the eggs. Notice the size of the female compared to the male. She's also a pink color, while the male is a darker brown. More red-spotted newts breed in this pool. In case you're wondering, a vernal pool contains water during the spring and usually dries up by the end of summer. They are prime habitats for amphibians because they lack fish. Just think about how much predation already occurs among all the creatures other than fish. Having fish eat the eggs would be too much for the salamanders and wood frogs to compete with. Similar to the Jefferson and yellow-spotted salamanders, the wood frog only visits pools of water during the week of its breeding activity. During the rest of the year, they live in the forest, hunting insects and invertebrates on the forest floor. Sometimes numerous males will grab the same female. In this shot, we see two males. Sometimes the female will drown because the weight of all the males prevents her from surfacing above the water to get a breath of air. Later, 8 males swarm one female. If you look closely, you'll see the female's face just barely above the water. Notice how each male grabs onto the female, and he uses his legs to attempt to kick the other males off. The yellow-spotted, Jeffersons, and wood frogs are some of the first amphibians to emerge in the springtime. They remind us to be ready for a slew of activity that's about to burst into our forests.
Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Again, the Argentinian scientists are with me. Their children are bilingual, and it's inspiring for me to see young people interested and knowledgeable about the world of amphibians.
Siempre que vengas arriba de una montaña, trata de no hacer así. As you can see, the babies are orange, but these are very big ones.
At this time of year, in this inconspicuous looking stream, I usually find a snapping turtle emerging from hibernation. With our underwater camera, we should be able to experience this event like never before. Following the Arcadian rhythm of nature, I brought my camera down to a snapping turtle hibernation site. Sure enough, this giant snapping turtle emerged from under the mud a short time ago. The muddy riverbank is where this turtle spent the winter. Luckily, this water is shallow and the river is narrow. The deepest this snapper can swim is about 2 feet. I'm standing right next to her and she can't swim any deeper. This is what's allowing me to take these close-ups. Never before have I filmed a turtle this closely. Notice the folds and crevices in the skin. Her tail looks prehistoric, like that of a dinosaur, lined with those large green triangular spikes. Unfortunately, something happened to this turtle's right eye, and it now only has one good eye. My hypothesis is that a human came across this turtle in the wild and abused it with a stick or rock, resulting in the loss of its eye. I'd like to inform everyone that snapping turtles are timid and will do anything to avoid conflict. This turtle is sitting patiently in this small forest stream. It spends most of the day here, and I film for an hour or so and then return home. This stream has a fast-moving current. Notice the grains of sand as they move about the crevices on the turtle's skin. Notice the length of her claws, helpful in burrowing through the mud. The middle claws are filed down as a result of her digging action. Algae grows on the shell of this prehistoric-looking reptile. Snapping turtle females lay eggs on land. Their nesting activity occurs in late May and early June. Females dig holes in well-drained, sunny areas and deposit their eggs. The number of eggs in each clutch varies from approximately 16 to 80 eggs. However, the average size clutch contains about 30 eggs. Extremely camouflaged, this turtle resembles an underwater log. This turtle will venture downstream towards deeper water, and we may not see her again for several weeks. We're privileged to be this close to such an old turtle. I don't know her exact age, but she's probably around 20 years old. We've come to the end of this week's episode. I'm Will Michael, and you've been watching Connecticut Naturalist. Stay tuned in weeks to come as we continue to document underwater wildlife that is seldom seen by even the most astute naturalists. Here comes another animal music video, and I'll see you next week. Who watches while you sleep? Cassie, caterpillar, to you my heart is true. Underneath butterfly skin lives a catergirl I knew. Swallowtails won't catch you when you fall. I love you now, I loved you before. You were beautiful.
caterpillar, don't you metamorphosize. I'm afraid when you emerge, you'll fly out of my life. Where will you be when it's my turn to crystallize? All the time waiting for you, I wonder will you wait for me? Cassie, caterpillar, you grew up much too fast. Now I hope the dream we shared is a love that's going to last. Now you fly away so high. I'm alone down here, I think I'm going to cry. I don't believe what it is I see. I don't believe what I see. Cassie butterfly, she's flying back to me. Butterfly, your cat girl, she's still the same inside. I got to make that butter girl my caterflying wife. Cassie's flying back.
What kind?
I don't know. Water animal? Nope, not that.